The National Union of Metalworkers of South Africa, Numsa, says it would affect 306,000 workers nationally. Despite 2 days of negotiations, the union, the Retail Motor Industries and the Fuel Retail Association failed to reach agreement on a 12% across-the-board wage increase. Phakamile Hlubi-Majola is the spokesperson for Numsa and joins me now. Phakamile, good evening to you and welcome. What is the offer from the respective employers?
Good evening, Iman, and good evening to your viewers. Thank you for having me on the show. The offer that the employers made, and this was the Fuel Retailers Association, they were the ones who made an offer. They made an offer of 4% across the board. Unfortunately for us, this is not really an offer that we could accept because their offer is very limited. It's 4% across the board for specific category of workers, and then of course with cashiers, they've brought it down to 3%. At the same time, their offer talks about us basically giving up all other demands. And that for us is not something that our members are willing to negotiate on. There are burning demands which have been issues from even previous wage talks. Included in our demands, it's not just 12% across the board that our members are demanding. Our members are demanding night shift allowance, specifically for garage workers, night shift and transportation allowance, because these are people who work very late and also come to work very early. They're earning very low salaries, as low as 21 Rand an hour. And when you compare that to the extremely high cost of living, to the impact of the fuel price and just, general day-to-day expenses, what the employers have put on the offer is just not good enough.
Phakamile, it's quite a distance between what you want and what they are offering. So against this backdrop, just how feasible is a compromise likely to be? Are you hopeful?
We remain hopeful, Iman. I think the problem with where we are right now is that we think that employers in the motor sector wasted a lot of time. We started wage negotiations in March, and only now, when we were at the point of having lodged a dispute with the Dispute Resolution Council of the Motor Industries Bargaining Council, Dispute Resolution Committee of the Motor Industries Bargaining Council. It is only now, when we met this week, when we'd already lodged a dispute, that the Fuel Retailers Association put down an offer. That in and of itself is completely unacceptable. The wage agreement expires this month. So part of the frustration that our members are feeling is that we feel that employers have wasted a lot of time. We feel that they've dragged their feet. We worry that they did so deliberately in an attempt to, drag this process out, knowing full well that the wage agreement would expire. So we are now in their hands, and we are calling on them to take this matter and to act with urgency, because there has been many rounds of negotiations. We are now deadlocked. And if we don't find each other in the next 30 days, we will have the right to secure a certificate for strike action.
Well, I was going to ask, that what's ideal is a multi-year agreement so that workers are in a context of psychological safety around their earnings and whether there would be prospects for that. But given what you're just saying now in terms of the intransigent nature or the intransigent atmosphere around the negotiations, that might be a premature question to ask. But coming to the timeline around that possible strike, you mentioned 30 days. This is because the process is currently at the CCMA, correct?
Yes. So where we are right now, Iman, is that we were unable to find each other through the structure within MIPCO, which resolves disputes. We were not able to find each other. We then informed them that we are going to be taking this matter up with the CCMA. We've declared a deadlock, so now it's a CCMA process. We will wait for CCMA to hand down a date for conciliation. In relation to what you said about the multi-year agreement, What we are currently negotiating is a multi-year agreement, and this is a 3-year agreement which expires at the end of August. And that's actually part of why this is such a big issue for our members. One of the aspects that we are demanding is a review of the peace clause, because we are only able to raise burning issues affecting members once every 3 years. There are other issues that can be resolved at plant level that we feel we should be able to engage on directly with the employer, but currently the agreement doesn't allow for that. And this is part of what makes these talks so difficult. And if we can find each other on that demand, also compromising on the issue of the wage demand and also on the burning issue of the night shift allowance, we believe we can certainly circumvent a national strike, and ultimately that is what we want to try and prevent. Because as you know, Iman, workers are the ones who suffer the most during a strike. Usually a no work, no pay policy is applied. So we really would try or would prefer to try and resolve this amicably without having to go on strike.
All right, so you're hoping, I think, that there would be a new agreement that's met and published by the Department of Labour just after the 31st of August. You talked about the talks that must take place at the CCMA. I think the question then is, in closing, for the workers who follow and I'm assuming in these sectors no work, no pay rule applies. Is there any other room to manoeuvre besides taking to the streets, which ultimately is a secondary disadvantage to them?
We continue to call on employers to come back to the table. We do not really want to have to resort to strike action because of the impact that that's going to have on our members. We do think that we can negotiate, and this is why we even said in that last engagement that we had with employers that there's nothing stopping them from reaching out to us for bilaterals. We can sit down anytime between now and when the CCMA calls us to try and find one another. It's definitely not too late.
Numsa spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola, thank you for talking to us and sharing the latest on the possibility of strike action in the sector.